Alright, let's get this through. So we've got 4 packages here to get through. The first one is actually from Crunchyroll. With the, let's see, I think I can do it this way. I'm just trying to make sure I don't accidentally, yes. This one wasn't showing up on Amazon. There. Oh, yeah, one of these is a hentai. Which is a little spicy, but bust to bust. Whatever the hell that is. Oh, this one's also a hentai. Kitties, Vault Classics. I can't read what that says. High 5 pack. I wonder if I already have most of these. Whatever. And last but not least, this package. We'll just zap it open like that. So we'll just go from here. First, we've got Digimon Frontier 02, The Begin. I think this is a movie. Should not be confused with, like, Digimon Season 2, Region A, I see. I kind of remember there was that confusion while I was purchasing this, that there were 2 things that... I think one of them, Season 2... got in stock like within the last week or 2. It's like delayed from the end of previous month. I'm guessing that of the stuff that Discotheque Eastern Star released, that one was probably one of their more popular ones. Got some plastic sticking to it. That's annoying. Oh well. Felt like there was more that I hadn't. I also see there's a loose disc there. Let's get that in place. What the hell? This is a promotion pack. It feels like there's only 1 card in there though. So maybe it's a online thing, it's a card with a thing you'd scan, but it's trying to look like traditional. Okay, so what are these 2 discs? Is this a DVD Blu-ray collection? I forget. DVD Blu-ray. Alright. Makes sense. Now we see characters on the inside. Alright, alright. Oops. Definitely want that pack to go in here. There we go, there we go. Next up we have Buddy Daddies. That's what it says, right? Buddy Daddies. This is a, since I'm curious, complete season. Because I didn't watch this when it aired, but you know, it struck me as interesting. Let's get this plastic off first. Let's see, looking at the back, regions A and B, English and Japanese dubs. Does the back look the same for this? Okay, yeah, because this being all red feels like it's one thing, and I almost wondered if this could have been different. But it's not, which is okay. Honestly, it looks pretty good and entertaining. Interesting. Next up we have the Iceblade Sorcerer Shall Rule the World. Let's see. Same underneath the slipcover. And this one was an okay show. Yeah, I think it had its flaws, but not necessarily unwatchable flaws. Just, you know, it's okay. Regions A and B. There's English, German, and Japanese dubs. It's interesting how there's so many to choose from. Disc 1 and Disc 2. Okay, I wondered if it was a reversible cover. It's not exactly, although you could reverse it if you wanted to. Next up we have the Reincarnation of the Strongest Exorcist in Another World. This one was actually, I'd say, fairly good. It had some real moments. Interesting, thought-provoking things like, oh. Not that Iceblade didn't have things, but I guess they just didn't strike me as hard as this one did, so I appreciate this one. Now, let's properly look at the back to see regions A and B. Audio, English, French, Japanese. It's interesting how one has French and the other one has German. Unless I read that so quickly that I missed it. This one had German and French. But, well, interesting stuff. And last but not least, we have Mashle. Mashle? It is here. That is not coming undone. I don't expect to put this back on, so I'm willing to cut it free. Because I think this is an Aniplex release, and the main thing you just have to be careful of with their releases, mostly with their older stuff, which, let's actually set this aside up here for now, because I think that I can put aside. Although we might want to try and take a look at the back of this, even though I can't read it at all. Black on red is not a very easy color to distinguish. So 12 episodes, English and Japanese audio. Okay. Good stuff. But I think I can put that aside. Let's see, it looks like there's not a lot else to look at the top of the thing. I do have some stuff on the inside here. I guess I'm not sure what to make of this booklet. There's some character art and some background imagery or art imagery or something like that. Then we've got booklet itself with some stickers on the inside. What's this? It's harder than it looks like it should be. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be a coaster or something like that. Could be. Well, let's put those aside and I'll put them deeper down. Let's see. We already had those before, yeah. So as we unwind this, I'm guessing the red is the soundtrack. 3 discs are the 3 discs. And now, it's my preference to put these a little deeper in there so that it is structurally more sound. Well, alright. We'll do it a little quick, but here's this week's physical anime collection update. Alright, well, I ended up not watching as much of my usual anime as I normally do. Mostly because this week I'm on PTO and I've become a little distracted playing Starbound. But let's talk about the anime first. So, with my Friday friend, we watched episode 57 of the dub of Reincarnated as a Slime Season 3. What happened specifically in that episode? I think it was one that I would have liked to have warned him about, but you know, it's not like it's a bad episode, but it is one where even though the previous episode had a cliffhanger, you don't get to see the resolution of that yet. maybe just a half step as it moves forward a little bit. And so, you know, despite that, episode 57 is actually pretty nice, I would say. Just good slime fun. Jobless Reincarnation. So like I mentioned, I think we watched 2 episodes. I forgot to make the notes on my thing, so I guessed that we watched episodes 20 and 21, but I didn't double check. But yeah, the dub versions of both those episodes, which includes that episode and that episode, which is moving along pretty nice. Stuff that's like, okay, this isn't the this is the show doing stuff that's, I think, more in line with what it felt like season 1 did. You know, season 2 up to this point has had very nice moments in it, but also felt like, especially this second half of season 2, has mostly felt like, oh, okay, this is happy home life anime for the time being. I know, given the episode that I just watched, I had something to think about. But I digress. Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, episodes 35 through 37. Entertaining stuff. I think the battles are pretty good. I guess I just kind of get that same feeling I said that I worry about in Season 1, where it's like, it's good battles, but I also kind of feel like it weakens the storytelling. I was going to say it's mediocre storytelling, but I don't think it's really that bad. But it is definitely one of those nits that you can pick at and, I guess, turn some people off. The thing where it's like, okay, where all these characters are fighting, and it's kind of cool, but the show needs to not be as invested in them. Like, you can have shows with interesting characters, but when you're trying to tell a story, you know, if you're going to talk about people on the side like that, you need to make it where it somehow feels relevant to the story. And one of the problems I mentioned with this second season is, you know, the beginning of the first season made us fall in love with a character that, as far as I can tell, is supposed to be the main character, but it keeps feeling like the show, it's like, yeah, he's the main character, but I kind of got a little distracted and I want to pretend this other really cool character I made is the main character. And, you know, these 3 episodes feel a tiny bit weighed down by that. But, you know, still very interesting stuff. Still very good battles. But, you know, just that weakness is there, and I'm just reminded of it, I guess. On Wednesday, we had Konosuba Season 3, Episode 10, which I think answered the question of whether or not this was going to be a 10-episode thing. Because I think I had mentioned that I wasn't quite sure. I should check. Seasons 1 and 2 are both 10 episodes. Technically 11 with the extra OVAs. But, I thought there were 2 episodes left. Like, last week. Okay. My last update, I had maybe seen episode 8, but then I noticed, I think last week, that's like, oh, episode 9. Probably we're going to either have a finale or there's a bit more for this season to do. Just a little bit more. It is definitely hanging around season finale sort of thing. What exactly happened in this episode? I'm blanking. I thought it was a nice episode, actually, but I'm blanking right now. I mean, at this point, we're getting to the things where it's like, if it didn't leave a super strong impression, I can't remember. Then what can we say? Because I've been starbounding. But next up, I missed the next episode of Mysterious Disappearances, so hopefully I will catch up on that on my week off this week. Archdemon's Dilemma, episode 12. I guess the finish up of what happened in episode 11. I think the finishing up of the series as well. So most likely we're going to get like next week off for a lot of anime. Or is that this week? Or both weeks? Because I don't think a lot of stuff starts airing until July. Well, I guess we'll find out as we go, and hopefully I'll spend the time catching up on some of the other stuff that I kind of want to see. Salad Bowl of Eccentrics, I did not watch the latest episode. Delicious in Dungeon, episode 24, that definitely ended the thing, because I remember looking at it and saying, oh wow, they're ending, so they didn't complete the story. I felt like maybe in 24 episodes they could have, but the pacing didn't feel that bad, and the things they covered didn't feel that bad, so I'm guessing season 2. Well, hopefully there is. If it's only a single core, I could almost see that working. If it's 2 cores, it's a little more questionable whether or not it would be worth 2 more cores, but I guess we'll have to see. It's pretty nice. And then, you know, I watched episode 59 of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, and yeah, I think the timing of that episode is kind of interesting, but I guess I don't want to say too much. But it was definitely a really jobless reincarnation. Hold on, I just started mixing things up. Sorry. Reincarnated as a Slime, episode 59. I was thinking jobless reincarnation. So Reincarnated as a Slime. What happened in the episode? Great. I'm a little lightheaded right now trying to think about it. I guess just kind of neat resolution of stuff, sort of things. In the beginning of, like, in between 2 events, I guess. Let's see, both Misfit of Demon King Academy and Regular Magic High. I did not watch the latest episodes. Train to the End of the World, God's Games We Play. I didn't watch the latest episodes. Kaiju number 8. I've got episode 9 here. I hope that's right. Whatever the latest episode was, it was a pretty good episode. You know, again, Kaiju number 8 is kind of a really good example where, you know, some of the stuff that's been happening in the past couple episodes has me a little, you know, it kind of has, it doesn't have me a little, I was going to say a little worried, but I guess it'd be more accurate to say it has some of the hallmarks of, okay, if this was a total battle shown in anime, then this would have been the part where it totally got distracted. Maybe still doing something cool, but, you know, it was showing other characters how they fight. But I feel like it was relevant to our main character and his story, and this episode made sure to tie that all together so that you definitely felt it. So, good episode. Newgate, episode 10. Okay episode, I guess. I think the real problem with Newgate is this episode maybe finally gave us something that would be the hint as to maybe a direction, but it doesn't feel like this show's really had much of a direction. It's had nice moments here, there, but I don't know. I think I mentioned before that it sort of felt like sometimes the characters are having a conversation and the conversation doesn't feel like a natural conversation. It's more like, well, these are the sorts of things we would want them to converse about, not would a person actually talk about things in that order or not. And, you know, kind of the show as a whole sort of has that. It says, oh yes, we're going to do this neat thing. Oh, we're going to do this neat thing. Like, I guess they had the elemental companion of our main character mention something about, oh, should I be wanting to breed with him too, or something like that. And it's just like, I know this show is a harem show, but it's also not been very harem, so it's just kind of strange for it to go that way, because like, oh yes, you know, that's just what we expect of the trope, and I don't feel like it set up the trope correctly. Not that it was necessarily bad, but it is sort of a thing where if somebody said they didn't like it, that would probably be along the lines of why. Well, that or people just not liking how definitely inspired by Sword Art Online it at least initially was, I guess. So, Reincarnated Aristocrat, episode 11. Yes, episode 10 ended with that. Now we get to see where it's going from there, and I guess it's setting itself up for a big finale, because this was a part 1 and part 2 would be the next thing. I mean, it doesn't say a whole lot, considering you could almost say this is a part 2 of the previous part 1. The episodes aren't exactly parts, but I do feel like this episode, more than the previous one, definitely paused in the middle of a important little arc. And it feels like the resolution of that arc would be a core finale and won't necessarily finish off the series, so I'm expecting the next episode to be there. But at least it feels about right for what it's doing, with the major problem being, I guess, I think you know a direction of the show. Like, okay, yes, the character's kind of facing that direction and they're going in that direction, so it doesn't feel like as arbitrary as Newgate per se, but at the same time, it's hard to tell what do I feel like the destination actually looks like. The show kind of makes you want to think about that. If I were to say why, it's because I guess you know, the premise of the show is the main character has the ability to evaluate the stats and potentials of other characters, and that's all good, fun, something for the show to work with. I guess the real question would be, alright, what about the main character? And the main character's been okay, but I guess it's like, maybe we would want to see something that makes us feel that, and the show throws stuff at us every once in a while, but I guess something about them just doesn't feel complete, maybe. Oh, weird thoughts. Hopefully it ends pretty well. And then Jobless Reincarnation, Season 2, Episode 22. Okay, that's the one that had some amusing timing. And I don't want to elaborate because I think trying to elaborate would spoil it, and otherwise, it was a pretty great episode. Very Jobless Reincarnation kind of episode. I'm not sure what else to say, but this one was good. Tsukimichi, Season 2, Episode 24. Entertaining enough stuff, I think. Again, the pacing for Season 2 feels a little weird, but the things that are happening are entertaining enough. But at the same time, it feels like there's something off about it. I don't know what. Anyways, entertaining. Seventh Prince, Episode 12, which I do believe was a season finale. You know, I think it ended at a pretty good place, mostly where it started, although maybe not doing the same entertainingly, off-putting in a good way, like just the main character's mental state was always just great, seeing him become unhinged in his obsessive way. And I don't think we got that at the very end, but we did get the reminders of just a bunch of stuff. It's like, oh, yeah, well, this is in line with the show. And it was entertaining enough. I'd say, overall, it was a good season. A Ring Monster, Episode 12. I think, let's see, it ended with that. Was a setup for the second season, but I guess, you know, it just sort of ended. Like, I think a big event happened, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily a big event that I would say, I guess that's the thing I would expect the season finale to do. It was just, it sort of was. I think it was entertaining. I would say it, personally, felt better than, what was I just talking about? Something else. Maybe well, definitely felt better than Newgate, where I think they both tend to just meander, but I guess it has more direction than Newgate, I would say. But really hard to tell what kind of final destination it would really have. But overall, it was just nice, I think. You know, a little strange in some places, but overall, decent season. Would definitely be curious about a second season. I wouldn't say necessarily super excited, but definitely intrigued enough to keep going, I guess. Spice and Wolf, Episode 12. Good stuff. I was just trying to think where it ended at the end of this first season. Well, it's got one more episode to go. I don't know. It's just kind of nice to watch. Very pleasant. I'm not sure what all to talk about, but you know, you can watch this episode and be like, yeah, that's why people really like this. It's not just the naked wolf lady, even though that's pretty iconic. It's the way things came together here were pretty neat. And it's interesting because I remember, like, the first time I watched it, and Holo's like wondering if Lawrence was too into Nora. And I remember feeling that a bit more when I watched the previous season, but I don't remember it this time. But I don't remember the exact details of episode by episode character designs, etc., why I felt that way. But it's interesting. It could also be a difference between like subtleties in the dub versus sub. Granted, this would be a different sub than the sub that was in that time, and presumably also a different dub than the dub that was done that time, although it would be really funny if they reused the same dub voice actors and then they made Season 2 and then they did the same chopping up of dub and then they had to do something different for Season 3 because no dub for that exists. Hopefully they're not trying to do that. Japanese with English subtitles, though, means you pretty much don't have to worry about that. But, you know, entertaining stuff. Chilling in Another World with level 2 super cheat powers. Episode 11. I mentioned that it seemed like episode 10 might have been a finale because episode 11 was your stereotypical, oh, I guess this is a we're not being serious anymore episode. But surprisingly, even though it's the first of a two-parter and then kind of context that's not taking itself seriously, it's pretty serious enough that it could be a series or a season finale. And okay enough stuff, I guess. I'm trying to think for this show. It's weird because it felt like, okay, it establishes a thing, but then if there's a direction for the show, it's interesting that it doesn't seem to be what the main character is doing. It's what all the characters around him are doing, which is an interesting reversal and I think makes it a little bearable in terms of storytelling perspective. Like, it's like, okay, it's kind of entertaining how the story is developing, kind of. And at the same time, what was I just thinking? I don't know, it felt like it also clearly didn't prioritize the story, but that's because the main character wasn't really about story stuff around him so much as, okay, well, it kind of had some story stuff, but then it kind of settled into just a nice little slice of life, this sort of thing. Maybe sort of like Jobless Reincarnation to a certain degree. Although Jobless Reincarnation, I think maybe did that one more believable, but surprisingly, I guess it's just there's a couple elements of level 2 cheat powers that feel convenient, but overall it's not felt too bad. Anyways, so yeah, there's all that stuff. Beyond that, so probably one of the reasons I fell behind is because I think I might have mentioned last week that I started playing Starbound. You know, just revisiting it and kind of enjoying it, and you know, there's definitely some of the mechanisms that I've not played before. So, for example, I've never done the mech stuff before, and it definitely starts a little rough. But I think that's always been some of the problems with Starbound is they began with, well, let's just construct this beginner thing and then try to build something targeted and directed up from that. And I think the problem is for a big open world game like Starbound, that's pretty hard to do. It's kind of similar to how Phasmophobia eventually reset everybody's profiles because they wanted to give people a sense of progression and build it up in a certain way. And for me, it didn't kill the game for me, but it definitely killed my enthusiasm to just jump in because now the game is pretty much saying, spend more time on me. And I'm like, if the game's asking me to do that, then I don't know. Whereas with Starbound, it places this stuff and you kind of have a general forward direction, and I feel like it's built out better than when I last touched it. And when I last touched it, I probably also had servers and characters that had gone across a couple of updates, so I feel like I'm getting to experience it a bit from scratch, and I do like it. I can see there's problems with it, and I'm still at a Tier 3 or Tier 4 danger planets, so I haven't gotten like really up there, but I do kind of, so far it hasn't felt like it's been too overwhelming going to new planets yet. I haven't been progressing in the story mode too much, but I do remember to scan everything as I go, so probably I'll be able to bonk, 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 assuming that those missions aren't too hard, because the combat in the game definitely has a little bit of too much if you're at the right place from the game perspective, then either the enemies die too fast or you die too fast. Like, you have to do things too quickly sometimes. But, you know, it's still been entertaining building stuff up. I've got my ship up to its maximum ship level. I did get the crew all the way up to 12, so I didn't do it by spending money at the Shady Dealer because I'm not going forward with the story to unlock them. But, you know, recruiting crew and... You know, I guess I'm currently down to 11 because I'm trying to keep a spot open for better balancing who's in the crew. So for example, probably would be nice to have more mechanics. And I could probably give up like maybe 1 or 2 soldiers if I needed to. A handful of engineers because I've got a lot of them. But more mechanics, I only have 1. Might be nice, but that's maybe not too needed. But then it's like, okay, maybe some of these other things. I think, a chemist, maybe? I don't know. I haven't gotten one of those yet. I did get a tailor. I did get a medic. I did get 1 mechanic, like I said. I have 1 outlaw, and I'm not sure whether or not to keep him. The main problem with him being, I can't tell what fucking race he is. I can tell he's not Florin because, you know, they're pretty distinctive. And probably not avian. But I think some of the other species reuse some of the same boy-girl sounds. And he's got a boy sound. But beyond that, I'm not really sure. And maybe it's not too important because I've already got the achievement for having 1 member of each race on there. But, you know, if there's that many races, it would probably be nice to have a good balance of some sort. But I did balance things around such that I got rid of the 2 janitors, you know, which is unfortunate because, you know, one of the janitors was my first crewmate, the other one was my first avian crewmate. But yeah, couldn't hold on to all of them forever, I guess. Anyways, I do have some ability to control the races of my crew members, so most likely what I will do if I keep this up and I become focused on that part of it again, I'll probably do something. Do have that to think about. Yeah, I have that to think about, but in the interim, I guess it's neat. Yeah. I definitely like farming, even though I'm not doing it in big. I did dedicate a large part of the ship to farming fluffalos, cows, chickens, both kinds of chickens, and places for 1 of each crop to grow, which also helps me organize them so the ship's nice and organized. The crew doesn't seem to be using that area though, so yeah. Things to think about. But I've been enjoying my time, maybe a little too much. But, you know, I'm off. So hopefully this video gets processed and uploaded as it normally would. Because, you know, while I'm playing Starbound, I can have this processing and maybe upload to YouTube overnight instead of waiting till I wake up in the morning. You know, I'll play it by ear. But otherwise, I'm really just enjoying chilling out in Starbound and revisiting that. I really should watch that video that talked about why Starbound failed, because probably not that it failed because it was a bad game, it probably just, I think probably the way they built it up just made it hard for people to stick to it. Similar to how I dropped out of Phasmophobia because, you know, I need to go back in there and unlock a whole lot of stuff from scratch. I just don't want to spend the time on that just to do that. With Starbound, if you were playing when it came out and as many of the updates came out, then probably you got burnt out, and playing it through again is daunting because it is a bit of a grind, but I've been enjoying the grind. Maybe I just haven't gone on the grind in a long time. But the main advantage of this, and the reason why Starbound is nice to focus on, especially why I'm getting farming up and working on the ship, is, you know, if I do end up playing with somebody else, then I have a ship full of shit that I can just bring into the game, if I remember correctly. You used to be able to do that. Whether or not you can still do that, I don't know. Hopefully I'm not mixing it up with Terraria, but I'm fairly certain I'm not. Oh well. That stuff, Dead by Daylight has been doing their Masquerade event. It's been fun, but I've been distracted with Starbound. What else can you do? I also have not gotten the latest Mighty Pokemon. I did make sure to download them on the 2 things so that I can play it even though the official event online has ended. I think I've got a good idea how I'm going to try to do it, but it requires me to take time away from Starbound to do it, so I'll try to make sure I get it done sometime this week, I guess. Alright, I think that's everything. You know, I've talked about a whole lot of stuff. Y'all, oh yes, it's Juneteenth this week, and I guess, yeah, that happened, but, yeah, let's just hope that y'all have a nice Juneteenth, even if it's something that you don't officially celebrate. Hopefully you just have a good day and can appreciate the people who are getting something out of it, sort of like those other holidays that are just like a nice breather. And I needed a breather. Oh, I'm babbling. Y'all, have a nice week.